Have you ever thought that true freedom might actually feel lonely? Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful ideas from The Courage to Be Disliked, a chapter that completely reimagines how we can find our place in the world without having to lose ourselves in the process.
Right out of the gate, the book hits us with this really powerful objection. The whole idea of being completely free, of separating what's your task from what someone else's, it can feel cold, right? Almost selfish. And it sparks this gut reaction that a lot of us can relate to. If that's what freedom is, then forget it.
So, that's the big question we're going to explore. What if there's a way to be both radically free and deeply connected? We're going to see if we can turn that feeling of isolation completely on its head.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to follow the same journey as the youth in the book, starting with that feeling of freedom's lonely road. Then we'll uncover the feeling of community, expose a surprising self-centered trap, and work our way all the way to a totally new way of feeling our own worth.
Okay, so first up, let's really get into that initial problem, that core objection. This idea that being truly free means you're just, on your own.
So what's the answer to this loneliness? Well, according to Adlerian psychology, it's found in what should be the real goal of all our relationships, this thing called the feeling of community.
And community feeling is more than just being part of a team or a group. It's a deep, internal sense that other people are your allies, your comrades. It's that fundamental feeling of belonging that lets you think, you know what, it's okay for me to be right here.
So what does that really mean? It means you start seeing people as partners, not competitors. You feel like you have a safe place, a refuge with them. And when you feel that, you naturally want to contribute. But here's the wild part. This community isn't just your friends and family. It includes everyone and everything, past, present, and future. We're talking about the entire universe.
Now, once you start thinking on that scale, it leads to a pretty shocking revelation. Because Adlerian psychology completely flips our whole idea of what it means to be self-centered.
You know, we usually picture a self-centered person as some kind of tyrant, someone who thinks the world revolves around them. But here's the twist. The book argues that the truly self-centered person is the one who is constantly obsessed with how other people see them. Fearing judgment, desperately seeking praise, it puts all the focus on me, me, me. Your life ends up revolving around yourself, just in a quieter, more anxious way.
To get out of that trap, you need to make a really radical shift in your perspective. You have to accept a simple, hard truth. You are not the center of the world. And the philosopher in the book uses this brilliant analogy to explain it. He says, think about a flat map of the world. You know how there's always one country placed right in the middle, and all the others are kind of pushed to the edges?
That's exactly the mistake we make. We treat our social world like that flat map, and we put ourselves smack dab in the center.
But the world isn't a map, it's a globe. And on a globe, any point can be the center. So yeah, you're the main character of your own life story, but you're just one equal member of the wider community. We're all centers, which really means that no one is the center.
And when you make that mental switch from a map to a globe, it changes absolutely everything. Your focus shifts from a mindset of taking and receiving to one of giving. You start asking, what can I give to this person? And that question is what defines your commitment to the community. It's how you find your place.
So that's the big idea. But how do you actually apply this in your day-to-day life? Well, it comes down to a really crucial difference in how we interact with people. The difference between praise and encouragement.
See, Adlerian psychology talks about two kinds of relationships. You've got vertical relationships, which are all about hierarchy and power. They use praise or criticism as tools for manipulation. And then you have horizontal relationships, which are built on a foundation of equality and respect. And their goal isn't to control, it's to encourage.
So why is praise a problem? I mean, we all like hearing, good job, right? But think about it. When you say that, it's a judgment coming from someone who sees themselves as being above. It creates a power dynamic. And even worse, it teaches the other person that their value depends on your approval, and that just robs them of their own courage.
The alternative is encouragement. So here's how you do it. First, you separate tasks. You don't jump in and solve their problems, but you're there and ready to help if needed. Next, you treat them like an equal. And then, instead of a judgment like good job, you just express honest gratitude. A simple thank you so much, or that was a huge help, affirms their value without putting you above them.
Okay, This all brings us to the final and maybe most important question. How do we actually build a real, unshakable feeling of our own worth? And the answer is all about courage. But for Adler, courage isn't about being fearless. Courage is the result of feeling that you have worth. It's when you truly believe you have value that you can finally accept yourself and tackle whatever life throws at you.
And that feeling of worth doesn't come from other people telling you you're great. It comes from a subjective, internal feeling that you are contributing, that you're useful to someone. Just a simple thought, I am beneficial to the community, is the true source of your value.
And we can take this even deeper by shifting from what the book calls the level of acts to the level of being. This means our value isn't based on what we do, but simply on the fact that we exist. Think about it. You're grateful for a loved one's presence in your life, not just for the specific things they do for you. That is the ultimate horizontal perspective.
And so, the final piece of advice in the book is this incredibly personal call to action. You don't have to wait for anyone else. Other people might not cooperate, but that's their task, not yours. This whole change, it has to start with someone. It has to start with you. My advice is this: you should start.